Welcome, I'm the Deadwoodjedi, and this is a Diablo Immortal video. I haven't done a lot of these, but there was a new patch that just came out, and I figured I might as well talk about it because it looks pretty amazing here. And so this is going to be more information than anything else, but without any ado, let's just get into it. So, what do we have here? We got Diablo Immortal mini update, Dare to Conquer the Fractured Plane. This is actually really cool. We're going to get a bunch of events coming through that seem really nice. In addition to that, there's some legendary items that are coming into the game and a couple little patch fixes that I think are actually really nice for the game. So, one of the great things we're seeing about this mobile version of Diablo is we're seeing updates happening a lot more regularly. We're seeing a lot of events kind of coming up, and then we're getting a glimpse as to what this game should be going forward long term, and I think it's going to be really productive for us. So let's jump into it. So first off, we got a bunch of detailed stuff, right? There's going to be some server maintenance on August 16th. That's basically the big deal, the 16th or the 17th, depending on where you're at. But let's jump in and look at all these different things. So first thing is a major event, Fractured Plane limited time event. I think this is really cool. Basically, I'm going to kind of, abbreviate some of this here, even as I zoom in a little bit, so maybe you guys can read this. And I will have this this whole thing linked down below in the pinned comment description of the video in case you want to check it out for yourself. But it's a new limited time event called the Fractured Plane. And basically what it is, it's going to be a 15-floor gauntlet. And the idea is to get to the very end of this without dying more than 5 times. And if you do, you should be able to get a legendary at the end of the event. Now, what does it all entail? Well, basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to go in, but you're not going to have any of your gear, your gems, or your skills. You're going to get a set group of skills that you're going to have to work with throughout the 15 floors. And the only gear you're going to get is what drops along the way. So the idea is you're going to be fighting all these different hordes on each of these floors, and the drops are going to be different legendary pieces that are going to fit the skills you have, right? So you're going to be able to modify and try different skills and stuff, but you're going to have to do this on the fly and kind of play with what's given to you. I think this is actually a really cool thing. It's kind of a different version of a challenger. Instead of using your usual stuff, you're stuck with what they give you, and you're going to have to compete with that. I think it's actually a really cool idea. And then along the way, you're going to get, as I said, you're going to get your gear you find and chaos coins. And basically what's going to happen is that the gear that you drops is going to be legendary rarity. You're gonna, at least some of it, right? And so you're going to be able to equip some of that and have different skill combinations. And the chaos coins, you're going to spend in a chaos broker, and basically you're going to exchange those coins for either new items or shards of fortune, and the shards of fortune will increase your fortune rating, giving you a better chance of higher quality gear that drops as you go through. So if you're really resourceful and you kind of, get lucky with some of your drops and stuff, you can get some really cool stuff. And at the end, you're going to pick 6 of the legendary items that you found along the way. And out of those 6, you're going to get 1 at random to take with outside of the Fractured Plane. Now, I'm just going to say this. I think the reward is a little bit underwhelming. I mean, 15 floors is going to take time, effort, energy. Is probably not going to be easy either, right? You have to only die no more than 5 times. So that part's a little bit disappointing, right? I would like to think that you can carry out a little bit more than one random piece of gear. Maybe even if you could choose it, that would make it a lot better. But it's still pretty cool, mostly because I think this is going to be a very fun game mode, right? As far as those of you looking for a challenge, this sounds awesome to me. So that's kind of what's going on here. Their note on this: the Fractured Plane limited time event was created to invite players to try new skills and legendary items that they might not typically use, while offering a nuanced but challenging way to play Immortal. We wanted to provide players with an opportunity to start from scratch to see how well they can play their class, no matter the circumstances. I think this is actually really cool, right? Because it doesn't matter, I think, your gems aren't going to be there, so your resonance isn't going to be there. It's really going to come down to the skills that you're bringing to the table, and I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do this. So that there's a lot of really neat things. Now, I'm not sure how this works with the set items, right, on your secondary gear. Is that included? Is that dropped too? Are you going to be able to, grab those legendary pieces as well? Not 100% sure on that, as that would add a whole nother level of complexity to this. But regardless, I think it is cool to be able to force people to try some, not force, but to give you the opportunity to really try some pieces of gear that you might not otherwise and not lose anything along the way. I've found that a lot of these legendary, bonuses and skills, they're actually really good, but they need to be utilized in certain combinations. And this gives us a great opportunity to test that in real time. So I'm actually really excited about this. And then, of course, and let's see, is there a date? There's no date on this. I think this is just going to be a thing that is available. So it's like just another mode of gameplay. Then we have the Echo of the Immortal. And this is actually really cool. Basically, this is a limited time event. It's going to happen from August 17th to September 14th, and starting at 3 a.m. server time. And basically, this is going to be a repeatable game mode, and you have to be level 40, but basically you can do a Challenge of the Immortal style battle, right? PvP. So in the Challenge of the Immortal, right, you have the Shadows going against the Immortals in an 8v8 fight. Is kind of usually how this works. Well, in this, it's actually going to be a little bit different, right? Because this is actually going to be, once that 8v8 part is done, the Rite of Exile is finished, and then the Shadows are actually challenging the Immortal. So what's going to happen is 15, I think it's going to be 16 players total are going to be competing, right? 15 of them are going to go against one randomly chosen player who gets to be the Immortal, which is pretty cool. If you've never done it, it's actually really fun. I've done it a couple times with my clan, and it's a blast. And so you get to fight the Immortal versus these 15 players. And if the 15 players beat the Immortal, then they will go toe-to-toe, head-to-head, 1v1v1v1 times 15, whatever it is, to see who can actually stand on top. So that's a pretty cool little thing. It's kind of a free-for-all at the end of it to get some bragging rights. So you can talk to the Battleground captain in Westmarch and to experiment with that. It starts on the 17th of August. And it sounds like a really cool thing because, unfortunately, being the Immortal is really only limited to a few basically the leader of a clan. So most people don't ever get that opportunity. This is a great chance for everybody to get an opportunity to actually play that game mode, which is really fun. And then Into the Darkwood limited time event. There's going to be Into the Darkwood. It's basically going to be 2 weeks from the 17th to the 31st of August. And you get to do a bunch of different, daily tasks through the dark woods and to get rewards. And it's going to be, you get like the Wreath of Blood portrait frame kind of thing is like one of the rewards. Basically, it's kind of like that Hungering Moon event, which we have an update to as well, where basically you're just kind of competing with each other and, doing little daily tasks to get stuff. So that's okay. It's not something that, makes me go, ooh, yay, but, it's, again, another gameplay mode that we can get into. And then Hungering Moon, this is going to be happening again from the 26th to the 29th of August. This seems like a pretty regular thing we're doing every 2 weeks or every other week kind of thing, and it's pretty cool. So that's an easy way to just get some extra stuff while you're going through your events. There's nothing new there. We do have a cosmetic set, the Damnation, Spawn of Damnation. It looks pretty dope, I have to say. So if you want to look like you're from hell instead of, the Nephilim, you can try this. It's a pretty cool thing. I think this is something that you're going to have to buy, though. It seems like it's going to be purchased from the in-game shop. So it's not something that, you can just, pick up or is given away. But it is another cosmetic that a lot of people like. Then we have some bug fixes. I'm not going to go over those too much. There's a variety of bug fixes. You can check those out if you like to. But I think this is probably the biggest part of this update is the multiplayer requirements for high hell difficulties is changing. Before, anytime you wanted to go into a dungeon or a hidden lair, you had to find 3 other people to do it. Only 4-person teams minimum to be able to compete in these. Well, these are changing to you only need 2, 3, or 4 players. So they're lowering the player requirements from 4 players all the way down to 2, which is awesome because it's not always possible to find 4-person parties, or sometimes you only just want to play with a friend or two and keep it pretty minimal. So this is great. This offers a lot more opportunity for people to come in and do the dungeons no matter the size of their party. Now, the way they say this, we've received feedback that players find the current 4-player requirement to be too restrictive. While we want dungeons to be inherently social experiences, we also want them to be accessible and challenging, hence lowering the requirements to a minimum of 2 players. In Immortal, we want to ensure that adding more players to a particular gameplay activity is always seen as a benefit to those involved. By setting the difficulty of these dungeons to always be tuned for 4 players, having a friend join regardless of their power level supplements our design philosophy. So one of the things to keep in mind is these are still going to be tuned. tuned as far as the difficulty, the monsters, the HP for a 4-player dungeon. So if you're going in with 2 or 3 people, it's definitely going to be a harder slog and probably a slower one at that. But it gives us at least the flexibility to do it. And I think that's a big positive change overall. So that's good. I'm glad they're kind of listening to our feedback on that stuff, and it should make the gameplay a lot more fun. When it comes to warband improvements, the codex step of needing to start a warband has been changed to join a warband. So no longer do you have to start a warband to clear that codex, and the hero's journey step to submit 10 warband chests has been removed, which is always a kind of a hard thing to do. Their note on this: as we plan the future of warbands, we want to ensure players who opt out of the feature, don't see them as a major obstacle to their progression. We want to have light steps that are easy to complete rather than difficult steps that can become roadblocks. In the future, we plan to create warband content that provides fun and rewarding experiences as incentives for playing with a small group of friends. I think this is ideal, right? Warband should be fun. It should offer bonus stuff, but it shouldn't stop you from doing anything. So this is all really, really good for us, I think. Class change improvement. You can now essence transfer onto reservist gear after changing your class. Great. Vault of the Immortal. Raid the Vault event window has been shortened from 2 hours to 1. This is actually really, really nice. If you're the Immortal, and right now my clan is the Immortal, protecting the vault is like a slog. It's 2 hours. You kind of have to be there for the full time, and it's sort of a pain in the butt to do. Now it's only for an hour. That's a lot easier commitment for the clan as a whole, right? And, because the rewards you get are so low, it's just not really worth it to spend 2 hours doing that when you can be out farming or something. So it becomes this real sacrifice that people are making for the clan, which, I mean, that's fine, but lowering that window from 2 hours to 1 makes that a lot easier on everybody, I think. Shadows included, right? And then we have Treasure Goblin improvement. This is huge, by the way. Huge, huge. So happy about this. Treasure Goblins now have a chance to drop legendary items. Thank you! This is the best thing about finding treasure goblins in Diablo 3 and 2 is like you get legendaries. Now we get them again. This is great. They're also going to provide more loot in general when defeated. This means treasure goblins are going to be the thing you're looking for out there finally. I love this. I think this is a great addition. And we got a whole bunch of new legendary items. Now look, I've been playing a monk since the start of this. I really only know the monk. So I'm not going to go over all of these things because I just don't even know what they do for all these classes, what that potential impact is going to be. But I will cover the monk ones because obviously that's what I know best, and I don't want to give you guys information that I'm not sure on, right? So let's jump down there, and you can see we're getting 6 new legendary items for every single class. So we're going to get a bunch of new varieties to play the game and improve your, the way you work. So let's look at the monk. 1, assemble the Wicked Tonfa. It's an offhand weapon. This is actually really cool. Exploding Palm now gathers nearby enemies into a cluster directly in front of you. Maximum 1 charge. So while you're losing the amount of exploding palms you can do, this is making it a lot easier for you to actually group enemies up and do that all in one blow. This is actually, I think, a pretty big skill right here. So that's I think that's actually pretty massive, because right now you're always having to try and corral the enemies or get them in a line or whatever in order to make this work. This is actually a huge bonus. Now, I don't know if this is going to be great for every situation, but when you're running through mobs or doing, open world farming, I think this could be pretty big. Now, Fleeting Soul Tonfa, this is a main hand. Mystic Allies now summons 1 spirit ally that rushes in a direction, dealing damage to all enemies it passes through and forcing all nearby enemies to attack it. This could be really good for like challenge rifts to provide a distraction so you're not getting targeted all the time, right? And I can see this being pretty powerful. Now, I love my Mystic Allies. They're one of the strongest single targets damage ability. This changes it to being more of an AoE or ranged ability that can have a lot of potential to it. So there's definitely some interesting stuff going on here with your summons. So I think that's something that we're going to have to play with and see exactly how strong that is. My guess, it's probably not going to be worth using, but I also feel situationally it could be really nice. Fusing Crown on the head. Mystic Allies now protect you, taking X percentage of your incoming damage. This is good. I'm down with damage mitigation. Nothing wrong with that. So there's there's definitely some positives there with that. Pacific Pledge, the chess piece. Taking damage during Shield of Zen has a chance to trigger a counterattack, dealing X damage to all nearby enemies. I don't know how much, I haven't done a ton of content on this, but one of my favorite skills is this Shield of Zen. I put it on basically everything. And one of the best abilities with this is actually using the legendary main weapon where it deals damage outwards. This only amplifies that. Being able to deal damage while either protecting yourself or dealing damage also with Shield of Zen is huge, because this is one of those skills I have on pretty much 100% of the time. So it's just like having basically, I don't know, a 6-set mount bank set on, having a Blessing of the Worthy gem on in my gear. So that's, I think, really nice. Passive damage is always good, especially when you can still use this to shield yourself and protect yourself along the way. So I actually really like this this chest piece. I'm excited to try that out. Shimmerlin, shoulders. Wave of Light now releases a wave of energy that damages all enemies in its path and burns them. This is cool, right? We're talking about a ranged skill that has a lot of potential to be used and maybe even comboed with a couple other skills. We already know that, the Cyclone Strike with fire can create this kind of AoE burning effect. When we have now another way to light enemies on fire, I think this could be really cool. If the range is solid on that, we could also have another ranged ability, which could be really nice for the monk also. And Tottering Tower of the Pants, Flying Kick now stuns enemies and can be charged to unleash a more powerful blow. Any chance you have to stun enemies is great. They can proc that Chip of the Stone Flesh. Anytime you can get free CC, and having this tied to your movement skill is actually a really strong ability. I think this makes Flying Kick considerably more valuable to use. So if we can use this, I can see Flying Kick becoming one of the more meta abilities that we use just generally, because that is such a, being able to stun enemies is massive. So I would expect we're going to see this a fair amount in PvP action, actually. I think it's actually really good. So anyway, those are some of the abilities. I mean, everybody's getting some stuff, right? So there's a bunch of new legendaries all the way around. That means more abilities, more potential usage for these classes, and I think more flexibility in our build. So this all looks really fun to me. I'm actually really excited about this. I think the legendaries always good, right? More flexibility, like I said. The treasure goblin, huge. I actually think the Vault of the Immortal, lowering that window is probably a really good thing. I enjoy doing the vault. So I'm not like super happy about it, but I think just in general, that's probably going to be a good thing overall. I'm a really big fan of changes to the codex, obviously, but more importantly, this multiplayer requirement for the high hell difficulties is huge. That is going to be massive for a lot of people out there. And then, of course, we have these new events. The one I'm really excited about, as you guys can tell, Echo the Immortal, I think is going to be a really fun thing for people to be able to do. And of course, this Fractured Plane limited time event should be really fun as well. So hopefully this is well done and well designed, so it's not impossible to do, just difficult. And if that's the case, this is hopefully something we're going to see happen over and over again, because it sounds really awesome. Anyway, guys, that's the video. That's what we got. Just a bunch of new info stuff. I'm going to start dropping some more Diablo videos here this coming week, so pay attention to that. If you are interested in seeing those, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.